Welcome, everyone, to today's Catalyit Live Hot Topic, the AI Kickstart Roadmap for Independent Insurance Agencies. We're excited to have you all here. I'm Scott Wingo, Catalyt's webinar producer, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today, we're joined by Jerry Fetty, CEO of Smart Services. Jerry works closely with independent insurance agencies to help them adopt technology strategically with a strong focus on operational readiness, security, and long-term stability. Jerry, we're glad to have you with us today.
Thank
Uh,
you, Scott.
Yes, AI is one of the biggest opportunities agencies have right now, but it's also one of the easiest ways to create chaos if it's not implemented correctly. The difference comes down to having a clear plan. Without structures, agencies end up experimenting in disconnected ways, creating risk, inefficiencies, and confusion across their teams. Before we do get started, just a few quick notes. Please enter your questions into the Q&A section at any time. We'll pause at key moments, or we can save time at the end, depending on where we're at in the discussion, for additional Q&A if need be. So feel free to use the chat for comments or technical questions and issues as well. I'll be monitoring that throughout the session. And today's session, as always, is being recorded, and the replay will be available within 24 hours inside Catalyt's on-demand video vault at catalyt.com. So you'll be able to rewatch it or share it with your team. With that, Jerry, thank you again for being here today with us, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to get us started.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott, for that great introduction there.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm going to get my screen shared here. There we go. Should be seeing it now. And
There it is.
I'm going to get this off the screen. So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We appreciate you attending today to learn about real AI today and tomorrow. As you heard from Scott, I'm Jerry Fetty, founder of Smart IT Services, been working with agencies a little bit over 30 years now. And I know I look like a young guy, but it really has been that long. Before I actually jump into the presentation, I wanted to ask a question, and I guess you guys can answer in the chat. And that is, how many on today really are not using AI in your agency at all right now? Can I see just a show of answers there, please?
Yeah, if you guys want to, just drop that in the chat.
Okay, we get very minimal, just a little.
Just a little.
Anybody out there, not at all? All right. I'm going to keep moving on. I've done this presentation. Yes, more than chatbots. Okay, interesting. I've done this a few times now, and the interesting thing about doing an AI presentation is it literally changes like from day to day. Well, I'm sitting here today, things have changed. And so it makes it almost one of the hardest presentations ever to do. And I've done a lot of them because you're continuing to update it right up to the last minute, really. So I've asked that question at a lot of conferences, and I usually get about 30% or so of people who raise their hand and say we're not using AI in the agency today. And then I promptly let everybody know that you all are using AI in your agency one way or another, and you really just don't know it yet. A lot of you do, some of you don't, and we'll talk about that as we go through here today. So let's get moving. Okay, so why does this session exist? And I promise y'all, this is going to be the only slide I read to you word for word. AI is already in your agency. It's inside the systems and workflows you use every day. And as you heard Scott talk earlier, it can cause chaos. The winners are not going to be those people who chase the most tools. They're going to be the ones who put the guardrails around AI so it works securely, compliantly, and with staff buy-in. I've helped agencies implement technology for over 30 years now, and I've always followed one rule, and that is use what works. That's why I created this session to help you do the AI right for the first time. And I guess got to reminisce a second. I've been doing this so long, I think in the early days we put fax servers in for people. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and I can't tell you how many agencies that we had to go into that they've got a fax server installed, but nobody used it. And they say, well, why aren't you guys using your fax server? And they say, it doesn't work. Nobody knows how to use it. And then we check it out, and the fax server was working perfectly fine. It just wasn't implemented properly. And so everybody thought it didn't work and they never used it. And for many years, we all used quite a few faxes. So today, I'm going to cover some practical use cases, some compliance, safe platform choices for you to make, and show you a roadmap that you can help implement immediately to get AI properly implemented into your agency. A little housekeeping. We're going to be about 50 minutes. Scott tells me that I have about an hour, so maybe we get to show a couple little extra things. And I'd say stick around to the end. I'm going to drop a QR code to an AI resource vault with the presentation and a bunch of practical tools that supports the talk and resources today. I'll be actually moving pretty fast because AI is a big topic and we get a lot to talk about. So don't worry if you miss something. We're recording this seminar and you're going to have a bunch of resources when we're all done too. Just some real quick basics. What is artificial intelligence? You know what artificial intelligence is, and I think we all know this already. Last year when I did this presentation, I had to go tell everybody what it was, or even the year before. It's really a branch of computer science focused on building systems capable of doing tasks that require human intelligence. Basically, that's what it is. And just a couple core definitions as we go through here. AI is software performing tasks that appear intelligence, but it's really, if you talk to the experts, it's really pattern recognition. They're looking at little pieces of text, not a full word, usually 3 to 4 characters at a time, and figuring out what comes next. And those little patterns are called tokens. And you're going to hear, if you haven't heard a lot about tokens yet, you certainly are going to in the future. Some people are saying tokens are even going to become equivalent to like money. When you get your pay, you're going to get an allotment of tokens as well to use up every year. LLM, you probably heard that, large language model. That's the actual systems that we're all working on out there that generates human type prediction sequences. Oh, and by the way, a lot of the experts say this pattern recognition, but there are some out there that say we don't actually know how this is doing what it does. There's a black box in there and we throw it all in, and the stuff that's coming out, we're not sure how it's happening. So it makes it a little bit interesting. Generative AI, that's when something takes existing items, text, images, data, and creates something new out of that, like even a photo or image or even a song. And an agent is a large language model connected to tools and permissions and when they can do workflow steps. And we're going to talk a lot about agents, especially towards the end of the presentation. What are the stages of artificial intelligence and where are we at? Artificial intelligence really started in about 1952. Back then it was called machine learning, but there was two professors, one hated the other, and they had competing conferences. The other one did not want to call his machine learning conference, so he came up with artificial intelligence and it stuck. 2010 actually is when some of the first large language models were created, so they've actually been around for a while now and just become really popular in the last few years, are really, really working well. And in 2023, they came out with what's called a large action model, and that's a model that can do more than just text. It can do also images and sound and different things as well. And what's the future hold? Some are saying, Elon Musk will say in 2026 or this year, we're going to have AGI, artificial general intelligence. A lot of experts are saying maybe by 2030. And I think Elon may be rethinking that because I just heard today on the news that he's going to rebuild the X or Grok from the ground up. Now, there's also something called AAI, and you might not have heard of that, but that's autonomous artificial intelligence. That's when artificial intelligence can actually do real things on its own. And we're about here right now, and that needle is ticking a lot closer to AI, and I'll talk about that a lot later too. And there's also something called ASI. I think I skipped over, but AGI is when artificial intelligence is just as smart as a human is. Say that Claude is just as smart as a human. ASI is when Claude or an artificial system is as smart as every single human currently alive today. So that's pretty smart. So that's it for history, but if you want to learn more about artificial intelligence and how things really came about, this is a pretty good book I read. It's called The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. He actually works at Microsoft now, but he was in charge of Google's whole project, and he's the guy that founded Mind, which is the system that beat the world's best Go player several years ago. And then Google bought them, and now he works for Microsoft. But it's a really good book. And by the way, this barcode will be in the presentation that you get the recording and the resources, so you'll have it later too. And then another one that I read not too long ago called The Empire of AI. This is about a reporter who has had a lot of deep knowledge on OpenAI, Karen Ho, and she basically wrote a book that gives you some insight on in the inside of OpenAI and how AIs are trained. And I found it completely very interesting in a lot of different ways and aspects. So they're not real technical books. There are technical terms in there, but if you want to learn more about AI, it's a very interesting subject. Those are two really good books to try out. Okay, like I said, a lot of things are changing. And I did this presentation last year, and then this year I had to redo the whole thing all over. So what has changed? Well, chat is changing to embedded. AI is moving from a standalone chat tools to they're actually getting to be embedded right within your applications, like right into Office 365, or some of them are getting embedded right into management systems now too. Single step to agents. There's more agent-like experiences out there handling multi-step workflows so AI can autonomously do work. And then there's adoption to governance. And this has been coming, but it's really been getting hot since the beginning of the year. And that is there's new regulatory pressure, especially in the insurance and financial channels, with increased state bulletins and compliance expectations for agencies. And market response, insurance carriers are starting to deploy AI exclusions and endorsements and coverage gaps in their policies. So something to keep your eyes open for. So why does this matter to you as an insurance agency? When the regulatory market sets the rules, and then the carriers and the other vendors associated with it have to follow those rules. They translate those rules and they set up contracts and controls to meet them and be compliant themselves. But that stuff all rolls downhill to the agency and to the client. So you receive audits, a lot of questionnaires from the carriers and requirements, and you're getting policies and contracts now that have specific AI clauses and terms in them. I was just at a conference doing the same presentation, and I asked if anybody knew what NIAC was, and I was really surprised that nobody raised their hand. And NIAC is the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And basically, the National Association they've banded together and basically said that they're going to together adopt policies and create normal expectations really throughout the US on governments over AI and the financial industry and insurance industry. Now, interesting enough, here in Michigan on July 14th, the Michigan DIFS Department of Insurance and Financial Services released a bulletin. One of my customers sent it to me. She says, Jerry, I read these all the time. They're really boring. These guys are always really behind the times. He said, but this time they're talking about AI. And they definitely laid out some rules and some guidelines for the industry to take note of what they need to be doing to stay compliant. And we talked a minute ago about AI exclusions and endorsements are starting to emerge in policies and in contracts. I was at another conference talking to a carrier, and the young lady told me that they are starting to put language in their contracts about not using AI to do certain things. And the thing I think she said was for remarketing, which I thought was interesting. So really be careful about what's coming out for you and your clients. So compliance, some big takeaways from compliance, and then I'll move on. When regulators and carriers or auditors ask questions, you need to have documentation. Here's a minimum package that you've got to have. You got to have an inventory of what AI tools you're using, paid and free ones. You have to have data boundaries, clear policy set on what data is allowed versus prohibited in the AI tools. You got to have governance, who adopts the tools and sets the rules in the agency. And they're really saying they want it from the board level and controls for logging, data loss prevention, and access controls and mandatory human review process as well. So we call that, the IT guys call that the human in the loop. And then you got to have some vendor oversight. So if you're using AI tools from certain vendors, you really need to know what they're doing in the background. But you might have vendors that you're not even using an AI tool from them, but they may be using AI for the information or services that they provide to you, and you need to know how they're doing it and what they're using. So to help you out, I've created an AI implementation roadmap and compliance resource. Again, we're going to have a link to this at the end, but in it, I got quite a few documents. I'm not going to waste a lot of time in the presentation today to talk about them because you're going to have all of them. But there's some sample use policies for you and ethics policies. Also, a bunch of documents that help you outline and implement the documentation that you need to be compliant. It's all in there. And so moving right along, just talk about how do you choose the right AI system? There's something out there called public AI, and let's talk about when you use it and when not to use it. So, what public AI is free AI. If you go to ChatGPT and use it for free, or Claude or Gemini, or sometimes you don't even know you're using it. If you're like on Google and searching, you're actually using AI, or even on Bing, you're using AI right then too. So generally accepted uses of that are just generic marketing stuff, de-identified scenarios, not using any real customer data, doing some research and things like that. Not acceptable to use. And I think most people are starting to get this, but you might have to educate your employees. That's client personally identify information, claims notes, loss runs, underwriting details, of course, policy documents, social security numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And there's also what we call enterprise AI, or I'll call it paid AI, what you're buying. When you buy the proper enterprise or pay for an AI system, if you're getting the right thing, you've got identity and access so it knows who's on it and who's using it. You have administrative control over your people so you can enforce policies, what they can do, what they can't do, when they can use it, when they can't. You also have usually have auditing ability because it will be logging what they do, and you'll have that as well, and some vendor accountability too, because you should have some service agreements in place and security reports that you can use to stay compliant. And there's also something called private self-hosted. Now, a lot of people haven't seen this yet, but this is approaching fast. What this is, where you actually have your own AI server in your office, or it could be in your private cloud if you have a private cloud, and you're running what's called a local model. And the local models haven't been very strong or very smart till now, but they're getting stronger and smarter. And I actually have a couple running here in my office because I think this is really going to be the big wave of the future for, especially for financial firms, law firms, maybe insurance agents too, where you actually have a little mini AI server in the office that serves most of that up for you there and helps you there, and all of your data and everything stays right in the office. But it's not quite there yet or ready for real-time use, but it's getting really close. And we'll talk more about that. So, talking about the major AI large language models out there, of course, there's ChatGPT. This is the broadest and most capable system out there. It does text reasoning, coding, image generation, video gen, voice and audio, and it also does agent workflows. The paid version for it is about $20 a month. You can get the Pro for 200, which just gives you a ton more resources. But if you were going to use this in your agency, I'd seriously recommend you use the business or what they call the Teams model. This lets you control who's using it in your agency and also let your people work together and share chats or projects and such forth between each other as well. There's, of course, Google Gemini. Google's pretty fully service as well, except for they haven't released the agents yet that I know of. I think that's coming pretty quick. Or you know what? I have a slide probably over that's on there. Of course, there's Claude, and we've heard a lot about Claude lately. And I actually heard that auto owners is using Claude, and we heard about Grok or AI Grok. Grok's really supposed to be extremely smart and honest, and but it's mostly trained on X data. And then there's Microsoft Copilot, which is interesting, and we'll talk more about that. It's around $20 a month. They're all about $20 a month. And Meta Llama, which is used by Meta, but it's also open model, so that can be ran in your office if you had the right equipment and expertise. And then there's OpenAI has something called GPT OSS 120B. That is a pretty capable open model as well, and it's free. Now, I'd like to say this is a joke, but I asked OpenAI, I asked Gemini, and I asked Grok, what is the best AI system to use in an insurance agency today? And OpenAI said, it's obviously OpenAI. And I asked Grok, or excuse me, I asked Gemini, and Gemini said, they're all good. They're all good. You can use whatever one you want. They're all good. And then I asked Grok, and Grok said, that's Microsoft Copilot. And so I'm an IT guy, so that's a funny joke to me, but it just shows the personalities of the different systems. Some of them are weighted to be biased, and some of them are weighted to be more open, and other ones are just like Grok to be more honest. All right, so talking about models a little bit, I want to talk about Microsoft Copilot versus ChatGPT. I think a lot of people don't know that Microsoft Copilot, the actual brain to it is ChatGPT. So what Copilot really is an interface from Microsoft, but the actual intelligence for it comes from ChatGPT, and it actually comes a little bit from Anthropic now too. But it adds some additional layers on for security and integration. So it's deeply integrated to your Office 365, which most agencies are on today. And it has a lot of controls built into it for security. And Microsoft has a pretty huge commitment to enterprise data cybersecurity. It stands behind the Copilot as well. So I recommend that Microsoft Copilot is really a Copilot 365, that is really a great choice for insurance agencies. If you asked me a year ago, I would say it's ChatGPT. Copilot was behind, but Microsoft woke up and it really started moving. And the biggest deal is the security and compliance features that are built in behind Copilot and the fact that it's so tightly integrated to the rest of the tools that you're using already. And you heard me say it a minute ago, but Copilot's like a shell or a dome of your tenancy, your Microsoft tenancy, and then it uses OpenAI and also uses Anthropic too. If you have the right level of Copilot, you can use Claude as well. And I do believe Microsoft will add other models to it in the future too. So you'll be able to go in and pick which model you want to use. So you're not stuck to just the OpenAI or Anthropic. Microsoft will probably come out with their own model at some point in the near future as well. So when we talk about Copilot, though, it does get confusing. I call it the tale of two Copilots. There's two Copilots. One is free, and the logo looks like this. And most people have that on your screen. Everybody says, I already have Copilot. I don't have to pay for it. It's free. It gives you web-based answers. It gives you some limited information. It's got some consumer privacy controls. Then there's the M365 version of Copilot, and that's the version you pay for as part of your Microsoft 365 subscription. And not only does it have the abilities of regular Copilot, but it also, instead of searching out on the web, it can search down into your data within your agency to give you better and more relevant answers or to do more relevant things or tasks within your agency because it knows a heck of a lot more about you. It can look inside your Word, your Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and I hope to show some of that a little later. And it has the enterprise data protection that we talked about earlier too, and the administration controls as well. And there's a lot there, more than I can talk about in today's presentation. Where does AI fail? I say trust but verify. All outputs from AI, a human really needs to look at them and verify what's there. And I think most people are getting that today. AI companies do not verify or guarantee their accuracy. And that brings up what's called a hallucination. I think we probably all have heard of hallucinations already, and that's when you get an answer from an AI. They're extremely competent or confident, I should say, and they want to do a good job for you. So if they don't know the answer, sometimes they make them up. And the companies call this hallucinations. I call it lying, the system lying. I'm waiting for the day one of my employees comes up and I'm like, hey, that wasn't true when you told me that. And they say, I was just hallucinating. But anyways, so watch out for hallucinations. Data leakage. If you put data in to AI, it might come out in places that you don't want it to. And we'll talk more about that. And policy advice risk, especially being insurance agents. If you've got your employees using AI and they ask it a question and it gives them an answer that they then relay on to a customer or use to make a decision about a customer's policy, we got to be really careful about that. And inconsistent messaging. And I get this complaint a lot from agencies. We get inconsistent results out of the AI. There are definitely ways to deal with that, and I'm going to talk about that and share ways to standardize and reduce that as well. So I was at a conference a little over a month ago, and they did this search in AI. They said, hey, can you tell me what the type of payment plans that are available for commercial auto insurance for Erie Insurance? And then they got the answer. And right here, if you click on that was somebody's policy that was out there on the I say the web, but in the AI. And I redacted, it wasn't redacted, I redacted the information to show it on the screen here. But it's just a example to show that, hey, somebody uploaded this at some point and probably asked a question about the policy, and then the AI put it into its memory and remembered it. And then when it got asked a question, it popped it up. Be extremely careful what you and your employees put into AI, especially the free AI. So, what should you do and what should your employees do to keep AI safe? Definitely fact check what your AI created. Use guardrails, and we'll talk more about those. Create an acceptable use AI use policy for your agency. And I've already created one for you, a sample anyways. Make sure your privacy policy lets people know that you are using AI. So everybody's got those privacy policies on their website that when you make a new website and you put it on there and never look at it again, that needs to be updated if you're using AI. And use a paid version of AI. Not that I'm trying to sell it, but what I want is everybody to be safe and have their customers' data safe. And in the paid versions, again, there's a lot more control about what happens to the data once it's put in there. And then train employees on the use policy and train them how to use it properly and what they should put in and what they shouldn't put in. What are some different types of sensitive data? PII, personal identified information, PHI, if you're a benefits agency, you probably get a lot of that. Obviously, claims and loss data, financial information, and the other one is credentials, logon credentials, passwords, API keys, all things you don't want to put in there because you're not sure who may get them when they prompt AI with a question. So, question for everybody out there. Has anybody tried this? This is like a thing that's been going on around the internet. Have you tried this, Scott? He said, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
People go
I
in,
did that.
yep, go into ChatGPT and say, create a caricature of me at work from what you know about me. And they don't tell it anything else. And then it creates a caricature. So here's one of me. I did it of me. And how does it do that? How does it make this image of you and know like all of the things you got going on at work? It knows that because it learns that from you as you're putting stuff in. It really figures that out. And it's scary what it knows about some people. As a matter of fact, when I first ran this, it's interesting. I was actually down in Florida fishing and it drew a picture of me in Florida fishing. Even though I asked it to show it to me at work, I said, no, show me what I'm normally doing. And I did one on my wife too, and it showed her sitting on a beach chair, reading a book and drinking a pina colada. Here's another interesting one. And I've heard several examples of this, and I don't know how true they are. I do believe it's happened. But an agency had Copilot deployed in the agency, and remember, it can go and read emails and documents and everything all on your network and your OneDrive or wherever you're storing your data. And it was a producer and he had a smart idea. Hey, tell me what the boss is up to. It told him exactly what the boss was up to. And I'm not sharing all of the items the boss was up to here, but it wasn't good. And it was kind of scary that they could figure that out. Another one I heard is somebody asked it what all the other employees were making, and it was able to go out and find that data and tell them what everybody else is making. So it's really important to not only keep your data from going into the AI and being secure, but when you put AI into your agency to make sure you've got the data in the agency secured properly so only the right people using AI can see that. There might be some people that need to see that, like in HR or ownership, but the rest of the workers in the agency shouldn't have access to that, and neither should their AI.
Hey Jerry, real quick, I
Yes.
had a question for you. You may be covering it, but on all the LLMs and all the AI options that you've mentioned, don't most of them have features that say, because I know obviously ChatGPT, they're all learning them to learn that material, it will, but can you turn that off or is that only up to a certain extent of what you input?
You can turn it off. Every system's a little different, and it depends on which level you have. And I'm going to show you that actually in a
Okay,
little
perfect.
while. That's going to be coming up. Same thing, conference I was just at, and multiple conferences I was at, and even Casey, when I asked Casey this question, hey, do you guys know what shadow AI is? And everybody said, no, we don't. In the IT world, we've had a term for years, we call it the shadow IT. And what that meant was in a company, somebody may be using a program or some type of IT that the ownership or the leadership doesn't know about and didn't approve. It's the same thing with shadow AI, and it's even worse. Can't tell you how many agencies I've been in the last year and done audits for them, and I ask, "Are you using AI in the agency?" And they're like, "No, we're not." Or we are, but only this person is. And every single agency I've been in, we've had many examples of shadow AI employees who know that it helps them, so they just start using the free version themselves. I've even seen cases where employees paid for it themselves just to have a paid version, but everybody has shadow AI. And basically, again, is when people are in your agency using AI tools that you aren't aware of, they're not part of your policy, they haven't been trained. And if you get audited, this would be a problem for you. And who knows what they're putting the data into and where that data is going. So you need to have a shadow AI control plan, a policy that defines the boundaries. I say provide better tools so they use the tools that you want them to, and they're not using something else. So that's like a paid AI. You got to have enforcement to basically know if they're doing it and know how to block it. And that can be done with procedures and with software tools. And you need to protect and secure the data. Data's got to be organized properly and secured off in, I'll call it siloed properly within the agency so that only the people who should have access to that data and their AI have that access. So there are different tools out there that monitor and block usage. Here I've just got a couple of samples, Netscope, Zscaler, but there are tons coming out, and a lot of the tools that are out there already are starting to build AI management in blocking and control tools within them. So if you've got a security provider right now, a cybersecurity provider, you should ask them. They probably have something going for you already and you didn't even realize it. Some of them actually, if you will keep you from your employees from using certain AI systems, or even if they're using one that they're supposed to be, if they put the wrong type of data in there, it will block the wrong data from going out too. So you need to have a policy. It's got to have a approved list of tools, allowed use cases, prohibitive cases as well. Needs to have human review requirements, human in the loop, an escalation path if there is a problem. And you should train people and it should have a training cadence going. So they're getting retrained every so often so people don't forget, or if there's updates, they know what they are. And by the way, I do have one already created for you, a sample policy. You should definitely go through it yourself and run it past a lawyer, but that's in the resource kit. So what can you do with AI? And I'm looking for timing. How are we doing on time, Scott?
We are at 1:37, so we still have a little over 20 minutes.
All right, so I'll keep rolling along here.
Yes, sir.
So when you're using AI, the best way, most people are doing a lot of prompting still. So the best way to get the most out of it is to have better prompting. The better you form your question or ask it to give you what you want, the better your answer is, and the less hallucination and misinformation is in it as well. So here's some tips. Give it a role, give it an audience and a tone. So if I'm doing it, I work with a lot of insurance agencies. I might say, hey, you're a marketing expert and you're writing this letter for the owners of insurance agencies. And I'd like it to be warm and friendly. So you tell it right off the bat how you want it to act. Or you might, if you're asking a legal question, you're a lawyer, or an insurance question, hey, you're an underwriter, whatever that may be, give it a role and tell it who the output is for, and that will really help out. Ask it for structured output as well. If you just ask it, it'll probably just give you a text dump. But maybe you want a spreadsheet or you want a table with headers. If you want a spreadsheet, tell it, hey, give me a nicely formatted spreadsheet. Actually put formulas in there. If you don't ask for formulas, it'll just put numbers and then you got to go figure the formulas out. And there's something called JSON. If the data you're going to get out of it is going to be meant for another system, JSON is a good way to go because another system could read that in very easily. That's a universal language or data format for different systems. Tell it if it's going to be an email. Hey, I want a good title and I want this as a body and this is my greeting. And you can have checklists made that, hey, I want a checklist that's made for my AMS. So structured output is the bridge between the AI drafting and the workflow automation through tools like Power Automate as well. So I'll talk a little bit about Power Automate today. I'll do a lot more in an upcoming webinar, but that is a tool that helps you automate and make AI more agentic. And this, if you get the data out properly, it helps with those future workflows as well. So give it some constraints, add explicit construction instructions on what you don't want. Hey, if you're unsure about the coverage details, ask clarify questions instead of guessing. Do not invent facts, policy terms, or coverage that isn't provided. There's a number of things I was doing early on. I was doing a daily AI brief, and I had the AI going out and finding me 5 new topics every day of what's going on with AI, and then we'd make a video and publish it. And one day it came up with this. One of the items was this really cool little AI toolkit, and I thought, that sounds cool. Tell me a little bit more about it. And it told me about something else. I says, no, tell me about the toolkit. And it told me about something else. I said, no, I want you only to tell me about the toolkit. And then the AI admitted to me that it made that up and that it wasn't actually real. And and I asked it why it did that. And it said, because I knew you were looking for cool stuff, so I made some stuff up. And I didn't have back then, I didn't have any guardrails out there to control it and tell it what I didn't want to see either. So it thought, hey, this sounds cool. This make Jerry happy. Clarify your prompting first. You can ask it, hey, before you do this, ask me up to 5 questions or ask me up to 10 questions or 3 questions, whatever you want. List any assumptions that you have, or hey, lay out your plan, what you're going to do before you start doing this. And just make sure we're both on the same page. And then have a verification loop. I've done this kind of naturally all the time. Have it generate a draft. You can critique it, tell it what to change, have it rewrite it. And then at the very end, say, you know what, give me a confidence rating on this. What do you think the weak areas are? How do you feel about the strength of the data that you're relying on to create this? And it will give you a rating. And if it's a low rating, you might want to rework it and make it your critic. AI, again, wants to please you, but you can ask it to argue against you. You can ask it to critique you. I always like to ask it for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it will do that if you ask it to. So ground your documents to reduce hallucinations. You can add information into the AI prompt before when you ask it. So if you have some documents that outline, say you're going to make an SOP and you've got a little bit of a job description already or some other data, you can upload those documents into the AI when you ask it the question, and that'll help it give you a better answer. For when I do the marketing, I actually have a bot, but it's got uploaded in it descriptions of our different products that we have, so it already knows how to answer some of the questions about our products. So here are some ready use prompts. I'm going to speed through them so we can get to some real actual stuff here. But you can ask it, like if you're using Copilot, you can ask it to look at an email chain and summarize it for you and write an answer if you need it. You can ask it for coverage explanation, a renewal call prep. You're going to do a renewal. You can upload the information into it, and maybe it's not a good renewal, and it will help you answer those questions or give you talking points for your customers. Onboarding checklist for existing employees is another good one to do. Hey, create a follow-up sequence for marketing or something. Hey, give me some emails to follow up on this over the next couple of days. A meeting summary, talk more about that, or even a risk review. And I've seen a lot of that popping up now where you can actually put some documents in, information. And I'm going to apologize. I told Scott I've got a little cold right now, and I was wondering how long my voice would hold out. And I got this little spray here to help out. Hopefully that works. But yeah, you can upload information and ask it to review the risk and tell you where the holes are. Better yet, create agents that remember your prompts. So when people are getting inconsistencies, it's because their prompts are maybe different every time. If you got everybody in the agency all doing a different prompt for the same answer, you're going to get all different answers. But if you create a bot and that bot says, hey, for this job, this is how you do it, and here's all the guardrails and everything already included, you're going to get a lot more consistency out of your answers for people across the agency. And by the way, I did create like 10 top prompts for agency owners, very high level business and agency kind of related prompts. And they're all examples. They're very high level. And a lot of them want additional information, but they're very strategic as well. And that document is in there. So the even better yet is if you want a really good prompt, ask the AI to write the prompt for you. Give it all the information, tell it what you want it to do, and then you might have a good prompt already, but say, hey, can you refine this and make it even better? And it will do that. So let's talk about some AI ready workflows in the agency, some real world use cases. So I've worked with quite a few agencies over the years, and especially in the last year, I've done a lot of agency audits. And of course, everybody's asking, how do we use AI? And I was asking the same question, how do we use it in an agency? And here's just a couple of small samples of where you can use it and get some benefit out of it. Of course, instant email drafting. If you got a policy change, renewal reminders, claim follow-ups, or cancellations, you can have letters custom made and tuned right to that specific client and situation. And it happens very fast, so it does save time. And if you're like me, it takes me forever to write a letter. So I can tell it what I want and it writes a letter in just 30 seconds. A policy explanation translator. If you're having a CSR who's having a hard time explaining a policy, or you've got a customer who's having a hard time understanding some of the coverages, you can ask it to help give you common terms to explain it to that customer. So everybody becomes a pro in plain English. A remarketing assistant, so you can take and dump policies into it. So you got a renewal, dump the existing policy, the renewal policy, and maybe you've got some other quotes from other carriers. You can drop them in and have it compare them and tell you where the differences are and point things out. And you say, Jerry, you just told us not to put any of that data in to AI. I'm going to show you how you can do it. Okay. Okay. So here's a tool that I made. It's out on Actually, this is the one in Copilot, but it's out on ChatGPT too. It's called a Policy Remarketing Compare Tool by Smart Services. If you go to OpenAI and you search for it under GPTs, you'll find it. Basically allows you to upload any up to 4 or 5 policies, whether it's commercial or auto, and it will give you a simple comparison and actually will write a letter for you to your customer if you want it to write an explanation letter or a proposal letter. Well, it's pretty cool. And if we get time, I'm going to show it to you and use it for employee onboarding. You can create an assistant with all of your onboarding information in it and tools and training and whatever. And of course, you're going to run your employee through onboarding with employees, other employees, but at some point they may be on their own and they have a question. They can go ask the bot, hey, how did I do that again? How do I process a renewal, or how do I do this? And the bot, if it's set up right, can go, hey, there's a training class for this, or you can do it this way, and it will share that information within the agency to them and help give them continued support. You can use it for training scripts, role playing, especially good for producers or people who are new and learning how to talk about insurance to customers. You can use it to create video scripts and video creation, either for internal training or sales and marketing as well. Have it create the script, record, and create the AI. AI can record it as well, and then you can share it. This is Scribe. This is a tool a lot of agencies have heard about. If you haven't heard about it, it lets you record your screen, and then it's got a little bit of AI in it, and it helps make a training video very quickly, and it works pretty well. And here's a video that I created. I'll see if I can play this.
Hello, everyone. I am Jerry Fetty from Smart Services. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Big I, Michigan 2026 convention, Built to Last in Kalamazoo. This event is always a highlight for me because it's the perfect mix of networking, reconnecting with old friends, meeting new agency leaders, and picking up Big I, Michigan at the Big I. Hello, everyone.
There we go. So that's a AI avatar video I created myself. I didn't actually say any of that. The system made it. And actually, if I go back to that slide, let me go back. I actually created a Scribe video, and it's a dual purpose. So you can see how Scribe works. And it talks about how I made that avatar video at a high level, tells you the secrets to get a really good AI avatar. And I use heygen.com for that. I've used a lot of the different video generating systems, and there's a lot of good ones, but that's the one I've got the most success out of. And here's another one.
Insurance agencies IT need.
Well, and that was synthesia.io, and they have pre-made avatars that you can use to make videos, and you can make some pretty good ones. This is Notebook LM. You can upload different documents and different websites and different things to it if you haven't heard about it. And then you can say, generate a podcast, and it will generate a podcast. You can tell it with 1 speaker or 2 speakers or 3 or more. And it's a great way to learn information and for yourself and for employees too, because you can pretty much have a podcast on any subject. It's really good.
Okay, let's dig into this. You're buying a home, you found the place, mortgage is almost there, and then
That just came from me uploading one document. So no, and it's a Google product. So after hours service is another use for AI. There are AI systems out there now. There's a lot of different ones that you can plug right in to your agency. And if somebody calls in after hours, there's nobody there, it can actually answer the phone, do lead capture, claims triage, cert request, change request, billing payment questions. And even I saw a demo on one yesterday that could do quotes as well, and they even said it could bind coverage. I don't know about that yet, but appointment scheduling and rescheduling. So you got a customer service agent working 24 hours a day. A lot of people tell me we don't want that on during the day because we want to answer the phone like real people. That's what our people like. And I totally agree with that. That's how we run things in our IT company. But I do believe the time is coming when most people will accept calling into an AI, especially if it's helpful and does do something for them. So same thing, you could use that same system for call overflow. So say the agency's really busy and somebody calls in, instead of flowing to voicemail, it can flow to an AI assistant who can help them out or maybe figure out what they're looking for and get them to the right person, or maybe the reception is out to lunch or didn't make it in for whatever reason, and it can back them up as well. There's a couple of videos that I made.
Hello, and thank you for calling the Gale introduction line. This could be your insurance agency, and this is Gail speaking. I am a virtual assistant available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you like what you hear and want to learn more, just ask to set an appointment with a smart team member at any time during this call. Now, what can I help you with regarding your insurance needs?
I was actually hoping you could tell me more about Gale and how it helps insurance agencies.
So for time's sake, I won't play the whole thing, but you can do a claims request. Pretty much anything you can do on by calling in, you can do it here. And you can do it with texting as well.
I've been in an accident. What do I do? I know. I'll text my trusted insurance agency. Hello, my family and I have been in an accident and I need to file a claim. Yes, fortunately, everybody's okay, but our car was damaged, so we need to get it fixed.
For timing's sake, I won't play the whole thing, but so everything you can do on the phone, you can do in an SMS today as well. And a lot of these tools out there are tied back to your agency management system, which gives them a lot more capabilities where they can actually look up accounts and do real things for your customers. If you want to try this system out, you can call Gale yourself and ask it questions or even text it. Another use that you have is outbound communications. We can call out, do SMS or texting or even email out, where it can reach out to clients for you, it can answer questions, it can actually schedule meetings for your people, do quote follow-ups. How many times do you have to do a document chase to try to get documents from a customer? You can have it do that for you. There's different campaigns. So here in Michigan, we just had an ice storm and a snowstorm. So it could be used to notify customers about that, tell them what's going on and how to contact you or where the resources are available for them. And I always say so today we have some AI recorders on, I believe, or note takers on the system, but use it for every meeting. Use it for your producers for their meetings. And I like to use Assembly AI. I've been using it for several years, but also Microsoft Teams Premium now has it built in for Microsoft Teams. So sales recording, CSR recording, internal meetings, you can get a lot of good intelligence from them. I like to use them for interviews, interview people, record them, put the transcript up into AI of all the interviewees with the job description and ask them who the best candidate is and see what it says. There's also a system called Rillo that you use to record your producers, and then it will actually give them coaching on how to be better sellers.
Hey,
I use
Jerry,
it for, yes.
I know we're getting close, but I did have a question come in that touched
Mhm.
base on what you just talked about. Michael asked thoughts on use of AI to summarize recorded calls and meetings. Obviously, that we all do. Exposure to the AI capturing what should be confidential information.
Say that again. What is the question?
So basically, he's concerned on when we do upload the transcripts or calls into the
Mhm.
AI, the exposure to the AI grabbing any of that information that could be confidential.
Got it. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. I would say that's why you've got to make sure you've got the right type of AI system that you can do that
Right.
with. And that's one of the reasons we recommend Copilot, because when you use Copilot, your data stays within your Microsoft tenancy. So it's definitely a lot more safer. So if you have some of that data already in Microsoft Word or stored in your OneDrive, that's your Microsoft tenancy. So anything you're really willing to put into your email, into any of your Microsoft documents, you should be comfortable putting that into your Copilot as long as you have the Copilot 365 and you have it secured properly in your tenancy. So for intake, that's the biggest one I see where you got the lowest hanging fruit of getting data in quick. I see so many people sitting on a phone, filling out PDFs and taking information in from their clients. A couple of solutions. I'm going to move very quickly here, but a couple of solutions that I recommend. Canopy.com is pretty cool. It will actually suck all of their information out of their carrier. They got to be a little bit more technical to do that. My agencies that use it say it's great, but they get about 30% of their customers are able to use it. Risk Advisors, Insurance. Some of these guys I think are Catalytic partners as well. Risk Advisors is another one, and not to be confused with Assembly note-taking AI, but Assembly.com, which is a newer system, lets you drag all kinds of forms in, and it will extract all the data out of those forms and populate Accord forms for you and supplementals as well. This is a neat system. Gamma AI, you can drop anything into it and it'll make a presentation. So here's a proposal I created with AI, but instead of just delivering this letter, I could drop it into Gamma AI and it will create an actual proposal that I can email like a presentation to a customer, or I can put pretty much anything in there and it will make a nice, clean, professional proposal. So the opportunity is much bigger than I'm showing today. Some of you probably have way better ideas than I do on how AI can help you in your agency. I know we're getting tight on time here, so I'm not
Yes.
going to go into the AI and show you today. I think most of you have used ChatGPT or another tool like it already and understand that. But if you go into it and you go into settings and you go into data, there's a little button that says use my data for training. Make sure that's turned off. Settings, security, use my data for training. Turn that off so it doesn't use your data for training. If you're on the Teams version in ChatGPT, it's turned off automatically. You can't even turn it on. In the Power Pro, if you've got ChatGPT, if you've got a big project, switch to Pro mode and it's going to think a lot harder and really create something great for you. I used it to create a really nice fishing guide when I was down in Florida. Of course, they all have their mobile models as well. The cool thing though is if you're using Copilot and you've got agents created in your Copilot, if you use Copilot on your phone, it's actually everything that's in your office is on your phone as well in your Copilot, which is cool as well. And there's a lot of people out there talking about robotic processes and that you need to use robotic processes to automate your agency. And frankly, the robotic processes are cool. I've done a lot with them, but my advice to everybody is not to go too crazy with them because there's things coming out that are just going to do this stuff for you automatically, and you're not going to need to map out a robotic process to make it happen. It's just going to happen for you automatically. Here's a process that I made, takes a Facebook lead, brings it into my HubSpot, sends them a video, sends an email, does all kinds of neat stuff. Maybe for marketing, they're pretty good right now. Here's a few other ones. Here's a big one that I'm working on, an 8N8 to try to manage my email. But the funny thing is, I spent a lot of time on this, and now I'm not going to use it at all because I've got something else that I'm using. Microsoft has some of those automation tools as well built into Office 365 called Power Automate. And so there's a lot of different tools out there right now. Every time I go to a conference, I see more. And a lot of them are just a face and they're connected to the chat GPT in the background through an API and they store stuff in the background. So I say really vet your tools out well, because some of them are really not more than a co-pilot with some nice agents on front of it and a nice face on the front of it. So really vet them out. I've got questions for you to ask your vendors to not only vet some of that out, but to make sure they are secure and you are compliant. And I've got that included in the kit. And remember the early days when document management systems were all separate and they tied to your management system, and then eventually they got built in. These AI tools, they're going to be the same thing, but it's going to happen a lot faster. So what's next? Well, the next thing are agents, autonomous agents. They're coming out now. Right now, we've been in phase one where you have a human with an assistant, but what's coming down the road pretty quick is you're going to have a human with a team of assistants. And in the future, we'll see a human with a team of operating assistants that are actually running the show. Most of the chat bots have some form of agentic agent available with them right now, but a lot of people aren't trying them out yet. They're starting to see more use. What's a chat bot or what's an agent? A chat bot. So I asked AI, tell me, is a short a possible term, tell me the difference between a chat bot and an agent. It says a chat bot talks, an agent does, an AI agent does. It does a lot. The one thing that's really cool about it is it does recursive improvement. It can write its own code so they can actually self-improve themselves. And that was really cool the first time I seen that happen. So here's a system that does that. This is, you might have heard of OpenClaw. OpenClaw is like going super crazy out on the internet right now. It's an open source project. It's an AI agent that actually does a lot. It's new, so it's got a lot of problems, but it's gonna get better real fast. This is my claw bot. I call it Vector Logic Bot, and I talk to him through Telegraph and or Telegram. And I asked him, I said, hey, and I have him tied through API into a bunch of our systems back here in the office. But he said, hey, what do you want the audience to know? I said, hey, treat AI bots like an employee, give them the right clear goals, right permissions, and a feedback loop. And the only thing about them is they're still pretty technical. You got to know Linux a little bit to make them work, but that's going to change quick. I have mine. I actually tied it to Alpaca and it's doing stock trading for me. I gave it $100,000 and it's only made $100 so far, but this is just paper money. It's paper called paper trading. It's not actually real. A lot of people, oh, you gave it all that money, but it's just amazing how it can go do things on its own. So here's a bonus tip for you. Does your management system have an API on it, or can you export audit logs? So you got an API, you can tie some of these agents into it now, or even if it doesn't, you can export your logs, anything that you can dump out of your management system into a spreadsheet or any kind of data, then you can suck it into AI and have it do things with it. Like I had one customer ask, how do we make sure our employees are actually doing some of these things they're supposed to be doing? I was like, dump the audit logs out for the activity logs and then put it into AI and have AI analyze it and create a report for you. Matter of fact, I do a similar thing here with our technicians. We have an API that actually can connect in and tell me exactly what every technician's doing every day. And actually, I built a team of bots here, which is cool. And this is coming for everybody, I believe, with the local AI that I talked about earlier. And yesterday, NVIDIA launched what they call NemoClaw, which is an addition on top of OpenClaw, which makes it a way more secure and run way better, but it gives it enterprise security, which has been one of the criticisms of OpenClaw. So this stuff's coming fast, coming really fast and changing very quick. I say transform your agency with AI systems excellence. There's a lot of big ball of yarn out there right now. And I say get your agency on a road to a good solid foundation. I've created something called the Agency AI Roadmap. And basically, phase one, you clean up your data, get your structure set. That's an absolute must. Make sure your rights and security controls are in order so people have rights to the right stuff and don't have rights to the wrong stuff. You train and have some change management in your agency to get your employees all on board. Implement Copilot for your daily workflows. Use SharePoint agents and Copilot agents for knowledge, internal knowledge, and then use Power Automate agents, workflows, and new AI tools and systems to get even more out of it. And then you've got the AI foundation. The framework guides you through an entire AI adoption strategy. Everything in this course maps to these phases. So the next 30 days, what should you do? Organize your agency data into functional silos, run a workflow audit, identify repetitive manual work, draft a one-page acceptable AI policy, and stop pasting sensitive data in unapproved tools immediately. So this is a strategic decision for the agency. Commit to it now. I do believe this is a pivotal year for all of us, and I think it's time for agencies to start making the first step. I don't say dive in head first and go all in right now, but start getting the agency ready for good, solid AI adoption. Some Copilot quick wins. Do some initial training for you folks. Learn how to build custom agents and then refine them as time goes on and make them even better. So in the roadmap, so I do agency audits. I can come out and do a readiness audit. We'll look at your security, we'll look at your data, look at your environment, do a security assessment, do some analysis and planning, and build a plan for you and present it. Normally charge $1,500 basically to do it. We'll do a webinar special. Anybody interested, just send me an email or hit me up and we'll do it for $495. It can be done fairly quick. But we do have to remote access into the agency to check out things and look them over, and then can give you a real good solid roadmap to move forward. I am doing using agentic agents next week on March 26th at 11 a.m. If you scan the QR code at the end, then I got music playing. But anyways, there we go. But if you scan this QR code, you'll get total access to all of the tools that I talked about. And it does ask you to rate the presentation. I know we ran a little bit over, and I appreciate everybody's time, but there's a lot to talk about. And there's a lot more to talk about too, which is why we're doing continuing webinars. And I'll probably do a few more here for Catalytic as well. And thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah, Jerry, really appreciate that. I know, like you said, you had to cruise through all that, but appreciate you dropping that QR code. So if everybody wants to scan that to get all the resources, and then Jerry's got his contact on information on there as well. So again, Jerry, just thank you for the clear and practical roadmap that you gave for us today. I know AI can be absolutely a game changer for agencies, but only when it's implemented with intention, structure, and the right guardrails in this space. This session really highlighted how agencies can move forward confidently, avoid unnecessary risk, and focus on initiatives that actually drive measurable impact. And of course, thank you to everyone who joined us today, who took the time out. We know you guys are busy with your agencies and your teams, and we truly appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. As a reminder, today's recording will be available within 24 hours inside Catalyt's on-demand video vault at catalyt.com. So feel free to rewatch it or share it with your team. And before you leave, please take a moment to complete our short 3-question survey. Your feedback helps us shape future Catalyt Live sessions, and you can also indicate if you'd like to be connected directly with Smart Services, or go ahead and shoot Jerry an email. Again, it's on the screen there. If you'd like to follow up after today's session or learn more, you can reach out to the Smart Services at Jerry's email, just one last time. And if there's anything that Catalyt can do for you to support you or your agency, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time at hello@catalyt.com. And thanks again for joining us today, everybody. And Jerry, again, we appreciate you and your partnership at Smart Services. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Scott. And thanks everybody for joining. I hope you all have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks.